Well, I said it hoping you could hear me, Spencer, so it's good. Welcome to Race Chat. Clinton Geoffrey and Adam Ross here. We've avoided each other like the plague for another day. You must either be really busy at your new job, really angry with me lately, or real busy rebuilding Connor's race car. There's a few of those things. If I was needy boyfriendish,
Yeah.
I'd be all worried what's up with us, but I'm all right with it.
All of the above, Clinton. I'll tell you what, so we had parked the Mindwell sessions for the last month or two. I'm not going to bring them back, but I'm going to start doing vlogs. And it's just going to be about life, what's going on, because I foresee over the next few months, my mental health is either going to be like to the moon or it's going to be in the ground because we have got a wild few months ahead of us, and I think I am going to document it as we go along. So things have been so stupid busy. That's all good. We'll see you at the racetrack.
We've got a lot of things on the go, that's for sure. We've had a few events kind of get rained out on us and put on the back burner, but starting this weekend, we get going at it. We're expecting Mark Rinaldi to join us here shortly. Spencer will let us know when Mark arrives. We'll talk about what it means for fans to come in and some of the restrictions that are still going to be in place. Some of the steps track owners are being asked to follow to ensure that they're getting a safe reopening with the fans. So we'll talk about that with Mark. He's been sitting in with the government. He's been our point man. If you watch the show, you know who Mark is. We're also excited to be going back to Brighton on Saturday for the second of our doubleheader weekend to kick things off live. We'll be at Delaware on Friday with the APC, and then the Knights of Thunder kick off their inaugural event, which was supposed to be last week and got pushed back to Brighton. Exciting times, Adam. Let's just talk about all the stuff we've got going on. You know, we're still working out some bugs in the trailer. I was there today working on some electrical stuff. Spencer was there Saturday, and we're all tuned up and ready to go, we feel, for Friday. And I'm excited to get back. I've never been to Delaware. For fans who maybe don't know the APC series, don't know what Delaware is about, what are they going to see Friday night when they tune in at 6:30 to see us live here on G-Force when we begin qualifying with the main events kicking off about an hour and a half later?
A great thing about Delaware Speedway is everything happens right in front of you. So the way it's laid out, you've been to Fulton Speedway?
No, that's the other one I've never gotten to go to either, which is funny you
No
bring
way.
that up.
So when you come in the top level at Delaware, the track is below you. All the pits, infield, so everything is within view, and it's amazing atmosphere. Delaware Speedway has a special atmosphere. They say historically Saturday night is the night for racetracks, but what I see in Ontario, I think Delaware and Ohsweken are two of the best atmosphere for any weekly track going in the country, and they both happen to be on Friday night, about an hour and a half from each other traveling distance. So no, I think you'll be really pleased with Delaware Speedway. The sight lines are great, the action is great, it's a high-speed track, it is treacherous. The inside wall on the front straightaway, man, if something happens on that front straightaway, it is mayhem. There's so much to cover there.
You know, we're bringing some new views. We're going to experiment with some new stuff this week. I'm super excited to go. A little bit nervous because I've never been there before. So, I'm pumped to get there. We're going to be there bright and early, ready to go. And then turn around and head back over to Brighton. Adam, you and I both been announcers at Brighton. I haven't done a lot of sprint cars at Brighton, maybe once out of all the times I've been there. I think because Greg always liked the sprint car night, so he always picked them up first. Let's talk about what fans are going to see when they get back to Brighton. I'm working on getting Mark. He says I sent him the wrong link, so I'm going to work on sending him that link while you tell us what we're going to see. It's going to be pretty wild at Brighton. Good car counts. Teams are signing up like mad. I'm hearing even names like Rick Wilson and some of the other guys from the East. Jordan Poirier is planning on coming in from Quebec. Just about Brighton in the facility, Adam, and with fans back, it's going to be special.
Brighton, in my mind, Clinton, is a combination of things. It's a throwback. You feel like you're going to a racetrack in the 1980s, and I mean that in the nicest way. It's just a real community atmosphere. out in the country. I won't say it's in the middle of nowhere because Angie gets angry when I say things like that. But there's a different vibe to those racetracks. It's quaint. It's a tight little bull ring. It's got two straightaways with a parking lot at either end. I mean, you got to stop the car, turn the car, get it down the back straightaway, and then do the same to get it down the front straightaway. It's elbows up racing. I think, in my opinion, Brighton Speedway is the great equalizer when it comes to sprint cars that have six-figure team budgets and sprint cars that have 4 or 5-figure team budgets. They can all compete at Brighton Speedway. It's just a place where you got to be on the ball, hit your marks, and never give up. Things happen there in a hurry. Having said as a throwback, they also have one of the coolest bars and hospitality areas of any track that we're going to go to, situated in turn 4. Really neat view overlooking the track. Of course, there's the creek that runs down the back straightaway. And as long as we're able, I think we should do something really cool with the drone, like start it off down at creek level and bring it up over the track, and you'll see how close that river is to the racing surface.
Too many Titanic jokes going on there. I don't think we need to sink one of those. Let's move on from there. Mark will be joining us soon. Hopefully he gets that link and it'll work out. We'll talk a little bit more about Brighton, but a lot of character, Adam. You know, as I'm sitting here listening to you talk about, you got fans partying off turn 4. You got a creek down the back straightaway. You got a bridge to get on. You got pits all surrounding, half of the speedway. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait to get back to Brighton. The other thing I'm real proud of is of the broadcast we did there last year. I thought they all came off very good. Brighton showed very good on the TV, and we're pumped to be back there. I just got a message from Thomas Kennedy from Winnipeg, who's planning on coming down for a lot of these 360 races. That's a 23-hour drive to come down and race. That's a hardcore deal. Thomas has raced a lot of 410 stuff down in the western part with the World of Outlaws and a lot of 360 stuff. He's been up to Oshweekend for the Nationals. But when that name came up, even a guy like Kevin Love said, wow, we may all be racing for our dinner if he comes to town. And just great to see them guys jumping on board to come in. So we're excited to do that. I don't think we'll see him this weekend, but as soon as we have the doubleheader weekend starting to come up, they'll be around. So we're pumped up for that. And he sent me a message asking, is GeForce free? All the stuff we're talking about on GeForce is free. If you're not watching us on GeForce right now, you might be watching us on Facebook. Search GeForce TV on YouTube, and you can find anything you want. You can also log in right in your browser at geforcetv.net. Always free and pumping out the best content from the best tracks around. We have Mark Rinaldi joining us now. We'll bring Mark into the program. Thanks, Mark, for joining us tonight. I know you get a lot of calls from promoters and everybody trying to figure out where it was. I'll set the stage for you. Mark is not the COVID cops. He's not the police when it comes to policing all the speedways. Mark simply has been a sounding board for us, a voice for us inside Parliament here in the province, which is great. And thanks, Mark, for all you've done. But we're almost at the next point, Mark. First off, before we get into what stage 3 we don't know is going to be, let's first talk about where we're going into this weekend. You have fans coming into Brighton. What's the overall message? What do fans need to know about getting into these tracks?
Yeah, I can only speak for Brighton. Some of the restrictions that are around step 2 of the reopening plan. As you know, motorsports was mentioned specifically, and then we were given a list of rules that we had to follow, or guidelines that we had to follow, and then we developed our own plans that match those guidelines. So, some of the rules were that reservations were required for all patrons. There's no indoor, no people to be in indoor spaces except for used restrooms, or if there's an indoor sort of merchandise place, and just a lot of stuff like that. A lot of the simple rules you've seen in a lot of other places you go. Social distancing, masks required when you can't social distance. When you use concessions, a lot of the same rules around where you'd see at a takeout restaurant. So really, not a ton of guidelines, but a couple of them there that are making promoters think and be creative and finding ways to make things work. The reservation thing was a big thing for us. We activated our online ticketing, so that went live last night. We had the system pretty much set up and ready to go, so it was a quick process for us. And yeah, we're I think at Brighton we're between 700 and 800 spectators at that 25% level, and I think I think we were over 500 sold this afternoon. So I imagine it won't be long before we're sold out in that manner.
Wow. And that's, Mark, mine was going to be a two-part question, but you answered part by saying how many spectators, like how many tickets you've sold. The second part of that question is, when do the barbershops open down in Brighton?
That too, I believe, happens tomorrow. So I think Angie's got me booked in already. I'm not sure if it's going to get done before the weekend or not, but yeah, I've been a victim to no COVID hairdressers. That's for sure.
It's quite a look.
Don't take that from him, Mark. You don't deserve that. So exciting to get back.
I see what's growing on his upper lip. So
yeah, I'm not one to talk. Mine comes in all gray now, so there's no hiding that. Mark, so this is a super exciting time. I mean, you've battled for us all in a kind way, obviously, but let's talk about the next question. As we're always looking forward. What is stage 3? And I think I'm not over the line by saying, if I understand what, to paraphrase you, you said, well, two things that I took from our conversation. One, they're not willing to confirm anything. We know that, but we don't know whether it's going to be 50% or wide open. And I don't think they do. And is this the last stage? So what kind of message are they giving you about where we go from here? And I know it seems greedy because we're not even where we should be on the weekend, but what does the next bite taste like?
They were pretty they're pretty candid with us, saying that they didn't even know, but that they expected something soon. They've been a little bit better at getting information out lately rather than, the day or 2 days before you open. So it was good that they at least shared this with us, almost a week and a half in advance. That allowed us and the other tracks to prepare and everybody else that has to reopen. So I would suspect that we're going to hear something shortly. Doug Ford was up in Muskoka yesterday saying that we needed to reopen restaurants and gyms sooner rather than later. And that's part of step 3 as well. So, if vaccinations, which I got my second shot today, continue to go up and do well, and the positivity rate continues to drop, which it has been in the last few days, I see no reason why they won't wait the whole 3 weeks after tomorrow in order to get to step 3. What that means for us, we're still unsure. BC opened up today in their step 3, stating that no masks are even required indoors. So it really, every province is taking a little bit different approach. And hopefully, you see some of the stuff that's going on around the world and not just in the US, but over in Europe now where they're at, 50 and 60 and 70% of the soccer games that, will be there sooner rather than later.
I'd like to issue this, no, I'm not going to issue this challenge, but I think it's worth noting. I'm a big fan of the Olympics, and there was all sorts of talk about whether the Olympics in Tokyo would happen or not. Turns out they're going to happen. I believe they've decided on 50% capacity. Fans are not allowed to cheer. Can you even imagine a crowd at Brighton Speedway, Mark, where the fans can't open their mouths to cheer? And I mean, I include booing in that too.
Yeah, no. All you need to do is see Doug Anderson or somebody getting victory lane, and you'll hear lots of boos, but lots of cheers too. I'm just using him as an example, but no, that
yeah.
You watch the soccer games over in Europe, and not that I'm a huge soccer fan, but you watch some of them, and there was 45,000 people at Wembley Stadium for the soccer game, the English soccer game today, and it sounded like there was 100,000 people there. The people are going nuts. They want to get back out. They want to get there. So yeah, that seems like a bit of a silly rule for the Olympics, but like everything that's very political, it doesn't surprise me that they throw a little bit of a fastball in there at you, right? So
is there anything your fans, sorry Clinton, I kind of threw a dumb question in there, so I want to, is there anything the fans or the teams, Mark, the people who are going to pay to come and attend Brighton Speedway this weekend, is there anything they can do that would help you, help the racetrack, help the teams? I mean, right off the top of my head, I can think, bring some extra spending money, folks. Buy a shirt, buy a hat, whether it's from the team or the track. But what can people do to be supportive?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Just follow the rules that we put in place. A lot of us, it's a lot of extra onus on us as the track, as Clint knows, and you guys know, you've been to all these tracks. A lot of extra onus on us as the track to put these rules in place and enforce them. So as cooperative as people can be, that makes our lives a lot easier. So yeah, just showing up and just being in a good mood. I mean, we're finally back to the point where we can have people to the racetrack. I'm excited, and I think everybody in Ontario and motorsports are excited, along with a lot of the other things we're allowed to open up. And let's just make sure we'll do our best to make sure it goes smooth. But so I was saying that to Angela today, is that opening night sprint cars, and our staff hasn't really worked that much for a year and a half, especially the spectator staff. So it could be interesting, but I'm sure it'll all come back to us pretty quick.
Mark, I just want to add to that. It was a great meme that came out one of the first times the restaurants got reopened, and it was, the message was the same thing. If you're just going to go to the restaurant and complain about the food and bitch about the service, just stay home. Let someone else go have a good time. You guys have been through the ringers already. I'm with you there. Let's go have a good time. Obviously, these aren't the rules that the track owners want to be having to jump through, right? These aren't anything you guys want to do. Let's switch things up a bit, Mark. Track surface. It's really been coming around at Brighton and in our talks probably a couple times a week. Let's talk about wheatgrass. You told me a story on the week that, you planted wheat in the speedway. I thought it was ingenious. I as it rattled around in my brain over the weekend, and I told the story to a couple of my buddies, it made even more sense. Tell us a story about, turning the track into a wheat field.
Yeah, so last fall, Charlie Sandercock actually helped me, and we've tried different things over different years, but this is the first time we planted wheat. People were freaking out in the spring because they saw the track and they thought it was growing over. It looked like something you seen on Dale Jr.'s Lost Speedways. But it took off and grew pretty good. If we were shut down for another month or two, we might have got a harvest out of it. But no, it's one, we didn't know when we were going to be able to open, and so it helps with erosion. It stops with erosion, and two, it just puts nutrients back in the soil. That's why farmers change their crops that they plant in crop fields every year. One year you'll see corn, one year you'll see wheat, one year you'll see hay or beans or something like that. So by changing up all those crops, it puts different nutrients and also oxygen and stuff back into the soil. And the theory is that it's supposed to hold moisture better, but it didn't hurt anyways, because we went out there for practice there last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and the track was smooth as it could be, and it's looking like it's going to be in good shape for this weekend.
Awesome.
That's brilliant. Maybe we'll see how the racing but I've never heard of it, but it's a neat concept. I mean, scientifically, it's got to make sense, right?
I think
there you go. That's what I'm falling back on, and
works.
All right, worst case scenario, our diehards in corner 4 will get a little extra barley in their beer if it as the sprint cars are coming off turn 4.
There
All right,
you
Mark,
go.
before we let you go,
Mark,
what time does the show start Saturday, Mark, for everybody who's going to be watching, tune in with us?
Yeah, we're gates open at 5. We're asking people to show up early because with the reservation system, we do have to seat people, just because we weren't able to block seats off efficiently and not lose too many seats. So we're going to have ushers that will seat people and take them to their seats. So that just to, so we don't get lineups and stuff like that. Gates open at 5. And racing starts at 7. Hot laps are just shortly after 6. So yeah, it should be a great night of racing.
All right, Mark.
And on that same vein, Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. And while Mark's still here, Clinton, we'll talk about, we've had this conversation for people wondering about what they can see on GeForce TV. For every event we're covering this season, Clint, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we've committed to showing every meaningful lap on every track that we cover, correct?
Yep.
So as long as there's we won't cover practice so much. So if you see at Brighton Speedway what his schedule is, the first heat race that hits that racetrack, GeForce TV is going to be up and live for the events that we're covering at Brighton Speedway. Same with Delaware. And I want to put that out in a message to really encourage people. Click the subscribe, click the notification bell, and you will be notified every time we go live, because every racetrack's going to have a little bit different schedule. We don't want anyone to miss out on racing when it happens. So Delaware this week, we're going to be live for the time trials. We may or may not stay live right through the program, Clinton, but at least you know if there's a meaningful lap at the track, whether it's GeForce at Brighton, GeForce at Delaware, GeForce anywhere, we plan on streaming it live, and we can't wait. Folks, if you're going to be in the grandstands at Brighton Speedway, I want to see you with your phones in hand, so when something real exciting happens, you can look down and catch the replay from various angles. I'm really excited to see this come together the way it's intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. It's great for us because 700 people. There's a lot more than 700 people that want to be here Saturday night. We know that. You know that. You guys both been to sprint car events here in the past, and so it's great that the people that aren't going to be able to make it can still enjoy it and watch it live. It's you can't ask for a much better scenario other than to have 2,800 people in the stands here.
Awesome, Mark. Thanks so much for everything you've done for the racing scene on behalf of all the fans, promoters, drivers. I don't think we would be half as far down this road and have the dialogue we did if it wasn't for your family and what you guys have done for us also. Thanks so much, buddy. We're looking super forward to coming down to Brighton as the guys behind the Night to Thunder series and GeForce. We're super pumped to kick off our official long-term summer season with you guys. So it's going to be awesome. See you Saturday, Mark.
All right. See you guys.
See you, Mark.
There's a bit of an inside joke there, Adam. You and I, when we very first, we used to have a podcast before there was podcasts. We used to do like netcast. We used to have a wave that we would upload and people could listen to. We're talking 18 years ago probably. And you and I went to Brighton. One of the first times we took video camera with us. We did this little hot shot video and it came out great. But in your opening, standing in front of the sign beside Mark's house on the grass, you said, "This is the perfect little track in the middle of nowhere." And Angie has never let you live that down, and she just grinds it in. I love that. But yeah, so you'll still be apologizing about that Saturday.
Neither of us have backed down in those 20 years. I stand by what I said, but it's worth it. It's a long drive, but it's a beautiful area, folks. If you happen to have a camper, by all means, take it down there. You won't be disappointed. Tour around. And Clint, I don't think we can stress enough what a big deal this weekend is. The new and improved Delaware Speedway Friday with the new and improved Quick Super Stock Series, APC late models. And then Saturday, we go to Brighton Speedway for the brand new Knights of Thunder Series. This is a big freaking weekend. And I want to talk a little bit about testing that took place at Delaware Speedway yesterday, because there's some big surprises.
I think you're absolutely right. When we concluded the season last year, we got into talks with the folks at APC right away about this season. And I think over the winter, that was kind of my anchor, because Weekend's still up in the air. We don't know what's going on there. My meeting's tomorrow. But I was quite confident we were going racing with APC. And then we said we would fill the gaps on Saturdays with the sprint cars to give the best of both worlds. And it's just kind of worked out that way, that Friday, Saturday, we're giving you the best on dirt and the best on pavement in 2 nights of action for free to all the fans who can't be there. So the fans who can be there, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great to just hear crowds again. Let's talk about Delaware Speedway. That was on our list here, Adam. First off, before you get into your hot story, show the picture, Spencer. This came out this week. They have put up new lighting at Delaware, and I know Joel Robinson messaged me, and he was all pumped from the TSN side, and he's like, "Did you see this new lighting?" I think Spencer got his wish over the winter. He made 3 wishes: better lighting, new trailer. I don't know what the third was, air conditioning, and we got that. Better internet. We're working on Starlink. We haven't got there yet. And one thing about internet, Adam, when you said, "I can't wait to see all the fans tune in," I'm hearing Spencer go, "No, they're going to bog everything down." But No, all good.
We we can't stop encouraging it now. I mean, we've hung our hat on it, so we're gonna have to stay ahead of technology.
I agree. I asked a question to you guys today. Did we think all the equipment was still in the center at Delaware? Ryan Dyson messaged me today, and he messaged and said that no, it was not when I asked him that. So we're looking forward to get back to Delaware. Going to have some great sight lines. We're going to have some great views. And kind of like we said earlier about Brighton and all the other tracks, for people who've never, or for the people who've been to Delaware all the time, we're hoping to show them a different side of the Speedway than they've normally seen. So what's your hot story, Adam? There's so many storylines with this Quick series, with the APC series. They just do a great job of keeping everybody up to date.
Clint, you hate when I do this, and I'm going to do it anyhow. But I'm putting you on the spot. Last year, right. Last year, from a competition standpoint, I need you to put your thinking cap on and remember, what did you notice about the level of competition last year with the APC late models? Who did you expect to win on any given race?
Oh, probably you talking before the season started or halfway through? Because
no,
I had perception
through.
halfway through. Well, it was pretty easy to see the top three in show most week were Joe Lawrence, Brandon Watson, Pete Shepard. Those three were pretty much up there battling every week, right?
Thank you. And I know that's hard for you because you sometimes overthink things, but Joe Lawrence was the class of the field. Brandon Watson was the class of the field. Almost everybody else was racing for third. There were moments. There was some exciting stuff. At practice yesterday, Trayton Lapsevich in his brand new white Motorsports late model was the fastest car at the track from reports that I have received. Trayton Lapsevich and J.R. Fitzpatrick. In fact, I heard that people at McCall's would have been real busy today tuning on race cars to try to find the speed that they need to make up to catch up to the white Motorsports cars. To me, as a race fan, that's awesome. Like, that is so exciting just to see that, okay, McCall for a little while has been the rabbit out there. Let's see him put his thinking cap on and do some chasing, because we saw Trayton at Flamborough and that car was freaking amazing.
Well, we lived through this on the dirt modified scene, right? For a while there, Troyer and Bicknell went head to head, and then Teo got into it, and it was just a great deal. Bicknell's pretty much dominating again. But so a couple things just in response to what you said. Super exciting for a couple reasons for me. When the two names you said that were top of the charts were Trayton and JR, weren't two of the guys that you would think would be in the battle. Deadly teams, great race, but just last year they didn't quite have it together the way the other three we mentioned did. So for them to leapfrog those guys and then still have those three guys in contention, I think that's super exciting. The other thing is, like you said, everybody else was racing for fourth or on back, but that may be the case, but those teams that were 4th to 20th were all of the same caliber. So even I went in there as a dirt guy and thought, wow, like, look at all the names. I don't think there was a race there that anybody could talk about. And, I still got dirt snob buddies, just like we have pavement snobs, say dirt's for, growing potatoes. I spent the last 6 months telling all my dirt buddies, if you give it an honest shot, you're going to be really impressed with the action you see. And it's been great. Like I said, I can't even bullshit. I'm super pumped to go out Friday and Saturday and get it done. Nervous energy. But I think that's amazing. The other benefit, if we can switch to the quick super stock side of things, a big dig on the pavement side here in the province was the lack of commonality of the rules. We've touched on it a million times, and it started with the late model series, just bridging those short gaps and the shortcomings, because they weren't huge, but Luke and his crew got everybody together, and now the tracks are basically all adapting to this style of rules, and you've got tracks all running this pro late model package. We always had tracks running super stock, so now getting those cars on common rules too has now opened up for all these cars to come together. And it seems like every day there's another name coming, like Pete Vanderweist coming back, to race super stocks. That's a big deal.
Yep. We're gonna have, that's one of the jobs I've got to do, is ask him his last name. There's a few things. It's just like Garrett Teemersma, right? I've heard it so many different ways. I think I've got it locked in now. But yeah, and I call it Vanderwees. I say Pete Vanderwees. So we'll have to ask him what it is. But he's a big name. He's always a good story, right? There's people who are just good talkers, good stories. Whether it's the super stocks or whether it's the late models, it's going to be fantastic racing. There's so much to be excited for.
Yeah, so tune in. Looks like both nights are going to kick off right around 6:30. Watch for them to come up on your feed, and we'll be simulcast on both Facebook and YouTube as we get the weekend kicked off. Couple things. Working on a couple more dates to be confirmed by next Tuesday. That'll be confirmed about where we're racing, a couple additional events coming up. And then as we move on down the line, we've also got, where's I going with that? When we get out of our Friday, Saturday deal, coming back at and we're in talks for a doubleheader possibly next weekend too. So we'll see how that goes. Comments coming in. Two things I want to touch upon. As I mentioned earlier, my meeting with Ashweekin is tomorrow. We'll find out what's up there. And then on after we move off of our Ashweekin meeting, there was another question about Humberstone. They're holding out till the July 30th, 31st weekend to get started. So there'll be no action at Humberstone, possibly some practice between now and then. So fans are back at him. Anything else we want to talk about?
Well, there's lots we want to talk about. I even want to acknowledge Wesley's comment that Delaware announced that their racing on Friday nights will be shown on Rogers TV. So that it's absolutely true. Outside of their APC weekend and their NASCAR Pinty Series weekend, I guess all of their races will be live on Rogers TV. And I just think it's good for the sport. It's more accessible viewing that people don't have to pay a dime for as long as you have Rogers. If you don't, you're a little bit out of luck as far as that goes. I just think it's great to see there's a lot of new technology out there, people doing new things, which is I like to see what we're kind of on the edge of. And there's people going back to some old things that worked really well. And I think, again, it's great for racing. I would love to see Flamborough come out and bring Kojiko out again on a more regular basis because that was real popular there.
Yeah, any eyes on the sport is good. I think community television has done a great job over the years in a lot of markets, getting the local names out there. And that's kind of where we are too. Our whole mission at G-Force is just get everybody out there on the screen and promote as much as we can. Let's jump down through a couple of stories. So when fans go too far, this was a comment that was put out by, I believe it was Nick Hoffman, and it was tweeted at him. You sent this into the group, and he said, one other thing. I appreciate all the kind words. Nick's a racer. I see all the posts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. There's a lot of hate out there, which is fine. It's part of the sport, but some of you guys are douchebags. I'm just trying to race for a living. Don't hate me for that. What do you want to comment on that, Adam?
I think he should make T-shirts. I'm just trying to race for a living. Don't hate me for that. There was something about that line because remember, I'm one who says boo for the drivers you don't like, cheer for the ones you like, boo for the ones you don't like. There's no shame in that. I mean, that's what makes racing great is the fact I don't like when Kyle Busch wins, but I need for Kyle Busch to win. Otherwise, it's no fun to hate him anymore. And I don't even hate him. I just like cheering for whoever happens to be racing with him. Do you know what it's that you need that friction? But I just thought Hoffman did such a good job that those last two lines were to me, were profound, right? Even though I say, look, embrace it, embrace the hate, because if people, so what would I do, Clinton, if I was at a race and I heard someone spewing hate all day long for Nick Hoffman, like if we were a Super Dirt Week, I might get to a point where I'd go buy a Nick Hoffman t-shirt just to sit next to the people that hate him because screw you, right? You know what I mean? If it encourages someone to support you and buy merchandise, embrace it.
Yeah, I think, some of the biggest jerks that I've ever seen under the helmet on the racetrack are some of the nicest guys I've ever dealt with outside of the pit area. And that goes pretty much true in my 25 years. I can't think of a guy who I thought, wow, he's a real asshole on the track, that I really thought the same of him in real life. I mean, You can throw any name at me, and I know there's probably 10 on the
Let's
top of your list, but I
let's
just
use Brad Rouse. Let's put a
why you got
name
to
to
pick
it.
on Brad?
Because he's such an asshole on the track. Like you see things that he's done.
Do you know what
You
you're
meet
stepping
him.
into?
Yes, he's the sweetest guy. Like I really like Brad Rouse, and he's calmed down over the years, but to see some of the temperamental things that he's done over time, but you see this man off the racetrack with his helmet off. He's the nicest man you could hope to meet. Probably maybe. Well, let's not go to the Todd Gordon, Mike Bowman incident because that was over the top. But do you know what I mean when I say Brad Rouse? Someone who's completely different when you talk to him than he is when you watch him through situations on the racetrack.
You know, the dirt guys are are noticing that you only threw shade at the dirt guys. You didn't pull any pavement guys into that fight.
Who's saying you were saying that? No,
No,
the
I'm
dirt
saying
guys are
that.
saying
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying that.
I said
Oh,
the dirt guys will take notice.
who
I
was?
was
No,
the
you
first.
didn't. Who's
Back it
a
up.
bit of an ass on?
No, don't. Just save it. Just save it. Yeah, we get the point. I was just being a smartass. All right. Let's switch it over. Racing Community Rocks. This is a series of Facebook posts that came out from a friend of the show here, Paul Cole at Land of Legends, which is Canandaigua. Throw those up, Spencer. It started off on, I think it was Monday. Paul put up this post, and it said it would be an understatement to say, so they had some issues with the track. It would be an understatement to say that the last few days have been a bit rough. Simply put, there's no quit in me, our team, my family, or my friends. We not only persevered through those challenges, we put on a great show last night. Even with the best laid plans, the temperature and wind were not going to overcome. But we will continue to work towards making a better product each and every week. A very special thanks goes out to the track guys who stepped in at short notice, and to Gary Pallone for lending me a grader until we get one permanently. Also, Dave Rauscher for helping get things delivered timely. Racing is full of friends. So that was Paul's first post. You know, no problem. A classy, track promoter coming out the next day and saying how it went. So put up the next. This is the continuation of it. Part 2 says, that said, I'm asking for a little help. Simply, I want to expand the tools the track team will have at its disposal. I'm looking for the following used track-worthy equipment. Road grader, water truck, couple pack trucks, tractor, at least 50 horsepower. If you know of a track, farm, or private owner who may have these at very affordable prices, send me a PM. The Dirt Car Series and Empire Super Sprints are coming Thursday. The track is ready to add more big stories to the legendary track. Don't miss it, and help us welcome the summer with the full grandstands ever forward. I like Paul's style. Goes on to say, next slide. I love the racing community. Yesterday, in less than 24 hours, 2 water trucks and packers are on the way. Working to find a good grader, but have several leads, and all the rest of our equipment is serviced and ready for business. Thank you to several racers, fans, Carl Spoonhauer, Thunder Mountain, Jeremy Corcoran, and others for the great influx of assistance. Super Dirt Car Series, Liberty 100, and Empire Super Sprints on Thursday at 7. Let's fill the stands. So cool, Adam, that, comes out, talks about the problems openly, says what he needs to do, says what help he needs, and everybody jumps in and helps Paul get it together. And I'm super excited to see what things turn out for him 2 days from now. We wish them all the best with the big show on Thursday. If you're a longtime fan of Central New York dirt track action, is there any better show than Big Block Super Dirt Car Series and ESS at Canandaigua, now Land of Legends Speedway? I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be a good night of racing. I'm still curious, just for my sake, who was it that hauled all their equipment out of there? I thought it might have been Jeremy Corcoran who took the equipment out, but I'm saying he's been part of the help to get it back because Paul took over the track from Jeremy Corcoran. I'm not sure how amicable that was. There's a lot of movement. Those tracks in the States, they change hands a lot. They change management a lot, partly because Land of Legends, just like Orange County, just like Fonda, they're on county fairgrounds. Right, so
Yeah.
you have leases and agreements,
it's a strange partnership.
A lot of moving. So it's not like John Casale that owns Flamborough Speedway. That's their track. It's a lot of leases, a lot of paperwork, and backdoor deals.
Burger Barn shots of the week. This was an interesting pictures that came up. fire into the cockpit. Show these, Spencer. Some pretty wild shots. Look at that, just shooting sparks up into your face as you're driving, trying to get stopped.
Wow. If you really break down a sprint car or a dirt modified, if you pull the panels off and there's an engine and there's a rear end in the car, you think, who's the stupid bastard that climbs into this? The engine, like if you're sitting in a modified or a sprint car and you reach forward, there's the engine. You reach back, there's the rear end. Like that's like riding 20 bulls at once. And you sit between them. There's just enough room for you to sit between them and the drive shaft to run between your legs.
It's not even like it's even tighter than that. You know, you say you reach back. If you put your elbow back too far, you're hitting the fuel cell right there. And if you reach here, you're touching the injector. You know, you don't even have to reach all the way out. You know,
that's a
you can have kid arms and reach over and pull the throttle on your own car. And, you know, you're absolutely right. I'll have to find the intro that I did for one of my brother Mikey's shows back in the day. And it showed basically it's basically an engine, 4 tires, a steering wheel, a seat. That's it. And a couple wings for extra downforce. You're right. You pull the panels off, and even the panels, they're like 40 thou sheet metal. It's not going to stop a BB. You know what I mean? Like, nope. It's all for show and maybe a bit of air.
And it's amazing. It's amazing science because, knock on wood, not many people get hurt driving these race cars. People have been hurt. People have been killed. But if you compare it to the number of people who actually do it, not a lot of people do get hurt. But when you look at it and think, who thought this was a good idea? I love it.
So if you want more of that, check it out. The best in the province kicking off this weekend. Ooh, there once again.
Before we get to the next segment, folks, do me a favor. I would like you to please, while we're talking, a few things. Either please tell us who you think is going to win at Delaware, Superstock or APC late model. Tell us who you think is going to win at Brighton in the sprint cars. Or tell us what you're most excited to see over the next few weeks. Please do me that. Throw it into the comments. In fact, if you like a different division, I see Ian Headwood just posted something about the vintage modifieds. If you want to talk about who's going to win the vintage modified feature at Flamborough Speedway this weekend, go ahead and post that. I want to see what your thoughts are. We've got well over 100 people hanging out with us, watching. Please give us some comments. Give us your thoughts. Let us know who you cheer for. That's what racing's all about, Clint. Not sitting here listening to you and I spew shit out of our cake smashers.
But it is fun. I mean, you and I would do this if we had 6 people here. You know, it's just what we do.
We have.
We have. But we appreciate all of you hundreds being with us now. Let's talk about tire shortage. So 2 serious topics. You want to do the devil's choice? You could talk about tires or safety first, Adam.
Whatever you want.
All right, tires is up. So as we've been talking on this show for the past couple months, we've explained that there is a real tire shortage, just like the entire racing industry. There's a lot of parts are, on back order or not being produced due to certain issues. Supply and production, labor, whatever the situation is. Tires are one of them that are affected by it. Some of the tire groups have been sending out notifications. This is an official email that was sent to me about our series and our tours. So throw that up, Spencer, and we'll just break this one down kind of like we did the poll. Good afternoon, everyone. Most of you are very aware our industry is seeing a shortage of parts and consumables. Today, I would like to address the tire situation. After a conference call with Hoosier, they've asked us to reach out to all our track promoters, series promoters, and distributors to stress that what we need your help to control the tire shortage situation. As of right now, all of you have received your orders as requested. This is going to be changing in the future as we get into the racing season, as supply will not be able to meet demand. Next one, Spence. So here's what can be done. Racetracks, and these are directions from Hoosier Tires to help us conserve things. Please decrease the laps for already scheduled long distance events that result in higher consumption. Longer races will mean less races that you'll be able to run later. Example, if you have a 75 lap event plan that will eat up a right rear, cut it to 40 so that the right rear can be used again. I know these races are meant to be special, but having tires to cover more events on our schedule in the long run is what we have to consider. Please do not add more events than you already have had scheduled. We're going to struggle to meet current scheduled as it is. Do you want to jump in here, Adam, anywhere, or just want me to keep going? I got 2 more points.
No, keep going. It's interesting.
2, as a series, what we can do to help the situation. Limit your sales to what the teams will need for the next event, or in some cases, if we have 2 events at a time, do not allow any teams to hoard tires. If you can change the length of your races to extend consumption, please do. If you have tire rules as far as how many tires can be purchased per event, tighten them up as much as you can. If you don't have a tire rule, make one. Please be open to working with other series using the same tires. We will call on you for help when we need it. Please be ready and willing. And thirdly, distributors, please limit your sales to what teams will need for the next couple of events. Do not allow teams to hoard tires. Sell tires to those competitors in your territory. Competitors are calling other territories to maximize their inventory. Don't be afraid to say no. Is that it, Spencer? I think that was the last one I sent. Interesting thoughts, Adam, and we're just trying to be open here and let everybody know the situation. So we're being told to cut events. What does that affect locally around here? I'll just address a couple things from the dirt side, and then you and I can discuss the pavement side. So Knights of Thunder Action Sprint Tour, as long as we don't hoard and have anybody buying mass amounts of tires, we're going to be all right for the events we have scheduled, and the ones the 1 or 2 we will be rescheduling. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for sprint cars. I'm hearing street stock tires are still okay in the province as far as dirt goes, and that's from the dirt side. It's not going to be an issue as long as we're smart, and I'm being told from the folks at Hoosier Tire Canada that we are going to be okay in this region. We've also heard from the pavement side, Adam. We tried to get Adam Lockwood on here a couple weeks ago to explain that Grisdale has a great handle on the American Racer side, and the APC side has a plan to make it through the season. So, everybody that we touch seems to be all right, but outside of us, there can be some real concern going on. And there's one last slide, Spencer. Show that slide of Lake Erie. They actually canceled the race, and they actually said because Saturday, July 3rd canceled due to tire shortage.
Yeah, what event was that?
It is because Joe B. Memorial at Lake Erie Speedway.
Is that a Joe Scott Nicky promoted race?
I can't confirm that.
And I'm not picking on
chance.
I'm
Put
not
it back
picking
up,
on
Spencer.
Joe, but
I may be able to tell by the artwork. Yeah, hard to tell. Maybe one of these one of our American buddies like Steven or Fran would let us know if that's a Scott Nicky plan deal. But go ahead, Adam.
The reason I bring it up, so the way they make money, Joe Scott Nicky running his races, Brett Deo running his races, any track, you make money on the sale of tires, you make money on the sale of fuel. If you do it right, if you have a good program set up, you make a little bit from all of these different vendors. The racers basically pay into their own points fund, and the promoter is able to make a living. So that becomes part of the challenge. So all of a sudden, if Joe Scott Nicky faces the choice, okay, I could still go to Lake Erie and put on a race, but there's $5,000 of income I was expecting to make on the sale of 100 sets of tires that I'm not going to make. The books don't balance anymore, right? Like, it's one of those things that often aren't talked about, but it's very real.
Stephen Petty says it was a Scott Nicky promoted race with the ROC, and I can confirm that is Joe's business model. They are selling fuel and tires. Steve Petty says, but Bob Mullen has Hoosier Tires, and we're running a 60-lap tour mod race at Lancaster Speedway Thursday night. So good luck to them, and we'll see how that one comes together. Hopefully, everybody can get through it.
So we're
for
some
the first
people.
time, Adam, what I was going to say is tire producers are loving rainouts. Every time it rains, they're like, oh, thank goodness we get another week to keep going. But hopefully supply chains will eventually kick back in, and we can get caught up on everything we're lacking right now. I mean, even the next topic, we're going to go to seatbelts. Everybody's worried about them for a while. We had trouble getting them. Now they seem to be all back in stock. We're hearing crate motors are still hard to find. Lots of situations. We appreciate everybody jumping in and letting us know who you think is going to win. Some good choices out there too. And hopefully you guys are all participating in the chat. That's the other thing. Before you jump in there, Adam, on GeForce, if you have a Google account, sign in, and then you're ready. You can jump right into the chat and participate with all our racing community. Go ahead, Adam.
I want to know. I want to know why Wesley shot. I'm with you. I'd love to see J.R. Fitzpatrick make a last lap pass to win. But why do you want Jordan Poirier to win by 2 seconds on the dirt? Why can't we have a last lap pass on Saturday to go with the last lap pass on Friday?
Jordan was so good last year. That wouldn't be a big stretch for him to get around that flat surface at Brighton. Our last topic that we have in the plan is don't scrimp on safety. So these are two things that came up across our desk, and one was about a half hour before we came on the show. Show one of the pictures first, Spencer. So this is SFI sending out a recommendation saying that this style of belts, I don't know how you say it, if it's RAS TP or whatever, it is they are using counterfeit SFI labels on belts, and this is a warning by SFI. So if you're looking to buy a brand of belts, do not buy this brand, or at least check and make sure it's not a counterfeit SFI tag. I don't know how you do that. I've never heard of the brand before, but it's serious enough that SFI had to put out a release to all their vendors and dealers to not be fooled by that. Show the other one, Spencer. This one came up. This, to me, I believe this is a Princess Auto brand Power Fist. 5-point racing harness. Use that in your go-kart or your dune buggy, but not your mini stock or your street stock. And the point of the matter is don't scrimp on safety. Adam used to sell suits, and I'm sure he's got a rant that he'll rattle up for us about that. But, quickly on safety belts, the industry has dramatically changed, and we're right in the middle of a bit of a transition in the seatbelt industry. And what I mean by that is they used to date them, Adam, and they would say, when I think there were two ways they did it. One, it said produced on, and another one, distributors who were proper licensed distributors could punch the date that it was sold. So belts could have a bit of a shelf life, maybe like a year on the shelf. They'd punch it and it'd be good for 2 years from the date of sale. Then they went to a production, and us as sanctioning bodies, we would either say those belts are good for 3 years, 5 years, maybe in a mini stock or lower end class. But in the sprint cars, it's 3 years. I know, because we have to deal for this all the time. Well, SFI just changed the way they're dating and labeling their belts. So we used to say it was good for 3 years from the date of manufacture. So if your belts were made in July of 2018, you had another month of using them, and then you'd have to replace them. Now belts have an expiry date, Adam. So they say valid until this date. So the insurance now has had to step in, and I had to have a long talk with Kevin Best, our insurance, and Kevin, Stone Ridge Specialty Insurance. Give them a plug because they do a great job. They cover most of the speedways in Ontario. They gave us extra coverage for we made a deal for extra coverage for G-Force, all the Knights of Thunder, Action Sprint Tour, all our staff, all our teams, just a bit of extra coverage. And one thing I had to talk to Kevin about specifically was belts, and said, look at, the industry's changing. So here's how we're going to govern it in the 360 and crates. Adam, you let me know what you think of this. So if you have the former style of belts with the production date on it, we will allow them to be good for 3 years, as the rules say, from the date of production. If your belts have an expiry date on it or valid until date, that trumps everything. So if it says valid until December 20th, sorry, you're out. If your belts were made in 2019 on the old style of tagging, you can get till 22 of them. And I had to explain it to the insurance, so we're kind of caught in the middle. Check dates on belts. The one thing that kind of ticked me off, Adam, a little bit about the way they're doing it now is they're only dating them. Also, I want to tell racers this tip. They're dating them from June and December. So the only dates you're going to find are valid until June 2020 or December 2020, which to me, if they had a half a brain here in North American market, they should have done them like April till November maybe. So teams either have to buy them before or after the season, not right in the middle. But it's a good little cash grab for them in June.
The thing with safety equipment, Clint, is it's such a slippery slope, because there are people that can have a set of seatbelts in a car and they can be there for 20 years and still be fine. This car might only go out of the trailer to race, go back in and be stored, in climate control. The belts don't see any weather. They don't see much wear and tear except being put on and off. You could have, say, an open cockpit car like a sprint car where it's being ravaged every week, power washed every week, and that's what wears things down. So those belts are going to wear down a lot faster than a different set of belts. It's and same with fire suits. There have been counterfeit SFI tags for years. There have been suits made with no SFI tags. I used to get really offended at that sort of thing, but you see it more and more. My big beef, and I think we can all be a part of helping this, is when you see, and I don't mean to pick on the lower divisions, but pure stocks and mini stocks walking around with a go-kart suit. You're better off to race in boxer shorts and a t-shirt than have nylon on. If you get into a fire, it melts to your skin, and horrifying. But safety gear, no, don't scrimp on safety, but don't be a safety snob either. A good set of belts is a good set of belts, and every situation's a little bit different. Try to learn a little bit. Watch a YouTube video on how to mount a set of belts, how things are supposed to work. Educate. That sprint car, I was going to say, that sprint car video you showed, when we did suits for Mike Woodring and Aaron Crocker, and it became real popular for sprint car racers, we used to do a triple layer bottom half, but a lighter weight double layer top half, just because a lot of the fire that comes through and the hot fluids and things of that nature come through on their legs.
Yep.
But it would be just too hot and cumbersome to have a whole suit be that heavy.
No, that makes sense. And for the lower divisions, we're going to be beholden by the insurance companies and the inspectors to those validated belts. So what I mean by that is, if you have a mini stock, there was a time, Adam, when we would let the sprint cars hand the belts down to the mini stocks. If they're expired and they're after their valid date, we can't even allow them in a mini stock, because then someone gets hurt. The insurance starts pointing at, how did you let these go? The belts were obviously clearly expired. It's going to be a bit of a shakeup in the industry in the lower divisions too. So my advice to the other guys out there in those other divisions is, if you're looking to buy new belts, search around for ones that are dated the old style. You may get a couple more years out of them than if you buy the newer style. The other thing that's really cool, Adam, an innovation in belts that the fans may not know, which maybe we should try and document this, someone getting in a sprint car and what they do to get ready to go out for hot laps or race. And a lot of the teams now have a new ratchet belt, and it actually has a mini ratchet. You can ratchet your lap belt down instead of having to have the crew guy pull on it. And that seems to be the hot setup these days. A bit more spendy, as Kevin would say, but it makes a lot of sense.
Well, also, 20 years ago, I never would have imagined a grown person, man or woman, using 2-inch wide seat belts. But it seems to be a trend, and they sit a lot better on the wear. Like, it's always 3-inch wide belts. That's just how it's always been. But they tend to bunch up in spots. 2 inches can be a little bit more pliable. You can get them where you need them to go. Lighter weight, probably more comfortable, unless you hit something really hard. But the safety industry is always changing. There's always little things to stay on top of and look for. I think,
if I recall, it also had to do with the way the tabs or tongues come down on the side of the Hans device. I've seen a lot of the belts now we're selling where they're actually folding it over, stitching it where it would come around the Hans device just so it'll fit better. I think those wider 3 inches kind of fell off the horns a little bit. So these new skinnier belts are working better with the head and neck restraint systems. But I think that's it, buddy. I got to go get ready for my meeting with our Schweekin tomorrow. We really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we're just keeping improving. I can tell you the blacktop paving crew was there today. They're putting a whole new blacktop in front of all the grandstands. It's going to be real smooth and slick when we come back, whenever that is. But we'll keep pushing. Don't forget G-Force is live both Friday and Saturday this weekend, and we're working on the possibility of being Friday and Saturday next weekend with some awesome action. But what we know for sure, United Late Model Series, the APC Late Models, and the Super Stocks with quick backing, kick off Friday, and then for Saturday down at Brighton for the Knights of Thunder and all the Brighton classes. Super pumped about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. Clinton, I'm going to promote, I haven't put this in our private chat yet, but I think myself, Greg, you as well, we need to get our Twitter handles in there if you use Twitter. I'd be willing to put my cell number in there for people to text information, because teams have been tossing out information to us. It is phenomenal. It's going to make the show that much better. We want to be wide open. We want to take you behind the scenes. We want to get you all the latest scoops. I'm going to watch the Sprint Car PA Speed Week event from Grandview Speedway. There's 358 modifieds on the card as well. Looking forward to that tonight. Spending a couple nights out in the shop, try to get Connor ready to race on Saturday. He'll be going to Flamborough while I go to Brighton.
All right. We'll see everybody Friday night live on G-Force. Tune in, 6:30. We'll be there. Have a good night. Thank you, Spencer.